So today, everybody, on another episode, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, thanks for doing all you guys have done on every episode. We have Irene Chiaia, who has given our time today on this Sunday as we're recording this Sunday evening. She was the radio presenter, she's been a music journalist, and now she's the assistant producer and audio editor for Fubar Radio and Islington Radio. And she's given us her time today. How are you doing?
Hello, how are you doing? Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure,
Thank you.
honestly.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to again, it's nice to get a female rather than all the males I've had. I love speaking to all the males, but it's nice to have something different, you know what I mean?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really privileged. Like, I'm the first one. I feel
Mm.
really special.
Yeah, so I think like a lot of people want to know is where did your media career start, or where like what made you want to get into media versus, the casual 9 to 5, type job?
Yeah. Well, with me, it's a bit weird because I kind of wanted to do it, like to be in the media industry since I was like a child. So basically, I grew up in Milan, Italy.
Mm.
And even though my parents did both, like neither of them works in the media industry. My mum works in finance. My dad worked in finance and then got into the motorbike industry. So really, really different careers. But I always had like family friends and stuff that were, in broadcasting, TV, stuff like that. One of my ex stepmoms actually was quite a famous singer in Italy. So I was like, oh, I want to be a singer. And so I started singing. And then I got to, I think I was like 18, 19. And I actually got into, I was accepted in one of like, the biggest universities for singing in the UK. And then
Wow.
I literally chickened out. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? So I got into audio and being an audio engineer. So I started studying audio engineering. And then everyone was like, Irene, I'm not sure if you're good at audio, but you chat a lot. You should get into radio presenting. And I did. I was like, yeah, of course. I got some family friends that were radio presenters. Well, still are.
Mm.
And I was like, I've always been fascinated about it. So I got into radio. I started radio presenting and radio producing. So when I started producing radio, I was like, basically I studied in the UK. I got back when after my first degree, I got back to Italy for a couple of months. So I started producing radio there. And then I got back to the UK and I started working in the UK in an Italian radio station presenting. And then I got into my master's in radio. And
Wow.
then I've got into this job at Fubar Radio. So it's a bit confusing, but yeah, that's me.
Yeah, you've been in like, because you've kind of like touched all the different kind of jobs in radio rather than just like
Mhm.
sticking to one. Was that so, like, again, like you're saying, you could find like the niche that you were really good at and then stick to that, or was that just because you kind of just wanted to try them anyway?
So the thing is, funny enough, I really want to present, but then reality hits you, and then you go, well, to learn how to present well, you also have to learn, production, or like if you want to get into the world of radio, it's easier to get through production and then eventually ending up presenting and doing a bit of both at the same time.
Mm.
And I started getting into production. I was like, I actually like this. Like, I like to create and coming up with ideas. And also I was like really good at audio editing because I did like a degree in audio engineering. So I was like, actually, I'm really useful in production and editing because like some people that work in the media industry, in the radio industry, might know like a lot about scheduling and producing shows, but they don't often have the audio knowledge of an audio engineer So I'm kind of like a bit special and a bit, So yeah, I think I'm always also I'm the kind of person that always likes to try things.
Right.
I never stand still in my little, bubble. I always want to learn something new. So
Yeah.
I think that's why I tried all this, little stuff. And then, I learned a bit about social media. So I kind of like learned how to, well, when I was working in the Italian radio, London One Radio, I learned, a bit of video filming, social media, this and that. And yeah, it's just like I'm a creative person and I can't stand still. So I think it's due to my personality and being, all over the place.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think when it comes to media, again, like you said, that it's sometimes like the type of thing where, yeah, you can realize like that's really what I want to do, but then you kind of click and be like, actually you try something and you're like, that's actually where I should be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But do you never
Yeah. Yeah.
miss,
Yeah.
like, because you are kind of technically now, you are kind of behind the scenes, do you ever kind of like, like maybe like want to, present a little bit more rather than being, or would you, like you said, would you rather just like continue with your ideas and coming up and like seeing other people do them, if that makes sense?
No, that's the thing. I like a bit of both. So, in the past 2 years or so, I was doing, as you said, much more like behind the scene. And I was like learning actually a lot in terms of presenting by seeing other people presenting. And I was at that point, I was like, you know what? I want to get back into presenting. So now I'm presenting for Islington Radio. I've got my own show, which is all about tattoos, as you can see.
Hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, now I do a bit of both,
Hmm.
which I think is the best of both worlds. Because you get to, on one side, you get to create and come up with ideas and like, kind of manage the whole situation. Obviously, I'm an assistant producer, so I've got producers above me in Fubar, but in Islington, because it's so independent, everyone kind of like creates their own shows. I am the person that kind of like creates the show, comes up with features, you know, because I know a bit about tattoos, I know who to approach in terms of guests. I usually interview just tattoo artists, and basically every single episode is one tattoo style.
Right. Okay.
So I kind of, then conduct the research. So I do a bit of both at Islington Radio, and then I just do the kind of like back end kind of thing at Fubar Radio. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, I think for me, it's the balance of having to. I was really missing presenting and having my own show,
Mhm.
because as I think you can tell by me chatting all the time, I'm a bit, I really can't stop chatting. And also I'm a bit of an egocentric kind of person, so I really do like being at the center of the attention. And also I like to interview people because, as you know,
Mhm.
it's really interesting listening to other people's stories, and I think, it just makes you feel a better person learning. I don't know, I'm really curious, so it just makes me feel like a better person learning about, new people, their own stories, exceptional people, because obviously, at the moment I'm interviewing tattoo artists, and I'm so passionate about, the whole culture all around the world. I would say cultures, not culture. So obviously you having, let's say uncommon people, they're having an uncommon lifestyle,
Mhm.
and they always have like mad stories, so I love that. So yeah, I finally found my kind of like balance.
Yeah, yeah. Would you ever do one rather than the other though? Because I know you said that you obviously you really like where you are, but would you ever like, if one presenting was to really take off, would you can necessarily leave that, or if you were able to like get to like the, you know, as you said, the producer side, would you ever like leave the presenting and then just do that, or would you still like to kind of have that twist of them both?
I think if I have to pick one or the other, I would pick, like, if I really, really had to, I would probably pick the presenting,
Right.
but it would be like a very hard choice because I really learned to love production. It's so fascinating. Is a completely like other world. It's like sorry, it's like the people that make things happen really and truly. So it would be a very hard choice. Ideally, I would love to be, you know, one day like head producer somewhere and then have my, you know, presenting on the side. Being absolutely real and brutal in broadcasting, it's really, really hard making a living just out of presenting. It's very, very hard. Like, you know, there are people that are really well known, that have shows and stuff, and that is their side job kind of thing. Like, you know, don't, I think for everyone who's listening to this and or watching this, and thinks that getting into presenting is very easy or you're gonna get paid straight away, I think 99% of the times kind of like forget about it. Do it for passion first, and then if it gets you money wise anywhere, absolutely fantastic. But it you know, just bear in mind there's not, you know, a lot of money flowing, and obviously I can't name names because of NDAs and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, there are people that you would say no way, like he gets or she gets that little for that show. TV or, you know, radio, especially radio, but TV, absolutely. So, you know, and across the board in the industry, you know, there are very few people in the industry that manage to get a living just out of presenting. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's something that people need to realize as well, because I always reference back to, you know, other podcasts I've done, and I was speaking to people recently and they were saying, yeah, you'd think that, like, you know, you see all these numbers online that people get and all this sort of stuff, but that's you're forgetting like every other thing they actually do for the business. You know what I mean? It's not just necessarily one
Exactly.
tiny wee thing. It's like, you know, 10, 20 things. That's why they get paid,
Yeah.
a lot of money. But again, would you say, you know, as in your, you know, your personal opinion, would you say having some other form of like, you know, have, obviously you have your grades, which is really impressive to be honest, but would you say it's also better having like kind of something like this, or even not even like this, just any sort of presence online where people may know who you are? Would you say that would help you get into the industry, or would you say that might hinder it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think nowadays, loads of people. So I think the industry nowadays is much easier and much more difficult at the same time
Right.
because everyone can produce a piece of content, whether it's video, you know, YouTube videos,
Mhm.
whether it's social media, pictures and little, you know, little snippets, or whether it's audio with podcasts. Like everyone can, you know, has a computer and can create content. So, you know, the market in a way is oversaturated, but at the same time is very, you know, fair in the sense of everyone has the chance of getting in and everyone has a chance to be listened to or watched. Or, you know, before you just have to, you know, go through TV, radio, and that's it. Now there are so many different, you know, platforms and ways that you can get your voice out. But then at the same time, there are so many people that are trying to do it.
Yeah.
So you have to stand out. So I definitely, like, if anyone, again, like if someone is listening to this and, you know, wants to have like a career in media, especially presenting, definitely go for, you know, online platforms.
Mm.
Absolutely. You know, you might spend a lot of time, you know, kind of, you know, pushing your online content, which is amazing. And then one day, eventually, you get there, you know, into radio or into TV. That I honestly, I have so many friends that pushed first, like, you know, social media, YouTube, videos, podcasts, whatever, and now finally made it.
Mm.
Absolutely. Like, one, I can give you one example. Like, he's like a friend of my boyfriend, and, you know, we ended up, you know, not being close, but as in, you know, kind of like having a good acquaintance. And his name is Lee Juggernaut.
Right, okay.
So he, this guy was, you know, on Instagram, social media in general, posting videos. He started saying, like, oh, I'm 30, I want to be a presenter on TV or radio. And everyone was like, oh, you're too old, oh, you know, you're, you know, people will discriminate you, stuff like that. You know, he smashed it. He's absolutely smashed it. He's got the talent for presenting. He's like, you know, absolutely great at what he does. And, you know, through years and years of promoting himself on social media, he finally managed to get a place in one of, you know, Channel 4's shows. He's in A
Wow.
Place in the Sun. So he's like presenting in A Place in the Sun now, the new series.
Mhm.
You know, he always wanted to do it. He invested his time, you know, he invested his money as well. And, you know, he finally made it. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what he wanted in life. And so, you know, you've got real life examples of that. So I think definitely this is the new way forward.
Yeah, yeah. It's about being like realistic with your dreams as well, though. Like not expecting to like wake up tomorrow morning and be like, well, for example, you know, jumping on like, you know, Radio One or as you said, Channel 4 or BBC, knowing that that's
Oh,
not going to
yeah.
happen. You have to have like,
Not at all.
you know, a realistic timeline, like not like
Yeah.
2 years, 3 years, maybe like 5 years to 10 years where you
Yeah.
actually want to be. But you bring up a good thing there about negativity and that. How did you deal with, if you got any, obviously, how did you deal with like negativity by people saying like, you know, why don't you just go and get like a normal normal 9 to 5 job, quote unquote, and that sort of thing? How did you deal with, rather you were like, nah, I want to do something that's like, you know, class has been completely different and be involved in like
Mm.
media and radio. How did you deal with that?
Well, I think I think like I've got so no, I haven't got so much pressure from, you know, my family.
Mhm.
I don't. They are really supportive, but of course, like, you know, the people that kind of went, why don't you want to get like a normal job? Were more like, you know, my family. They were like, really? Like, are you sure? Are you gonna be able to pay a mortgage anytime soon or stuff like that? And they still do it because obviously, like, they, you know, they don't fully understand the industry. Also, they, you know, my mom used to live in London, but she moved back to Italy. So, you know, different country, different things. And obviously, you've like, don't get me wrong, it's a completely different life. Like, you know, I would say no matter what, when you are in media, you have to think of yourself as a business itself,
Right.
especially if you're doing presenting, because, you know, production, you know, you can be part of like production teams, you can be part of like bigger companies, but presenting is like, you are your own company. You
Mhm.
have to be able to promote yourself on social media. You're, you know, you're working 24/7. If that's what you want to do,
Mhm.
like full time, you're working 24/7, investing your own money into that. You know, every no that you say to any opportunity is a big no. Like, you have to be ready to kind of like have that hunger for your passion that you don't necessarily need to have when you're doing a 9 to 5. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, you do a 9 to 5, you study, you get good grades, you end up, I mean, I'm making it super easy. It's not as easy with, you know, all due respect to nine
Yeah,
to
yeah,
five.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But obviously, there's more of a fairness in terms of like, you know, I hit that grade at uni, then I end up doing an internship. I'm good. I'm going to be promoted. I'm going to be hired in this company. I can stay in the company for like 10 years and stuff. And that's pretty much it. You know, there's pros and cons. Some people that do 9 to 5s, they just go, I don't really like my job. Like, or my sister, she's like, she's a designer, like for apps and stuff. And she pretty
Wow.
much does a 9 to 5. Yeah, she's sick. But yeah, she pretty much does a 9 to 5, slightly creative, but she does a 9 to 5. She's like, you know what? My job is not my life. Totally fair enough, you know. You've got
Yeah,
your
100%.
passions, you've got, you know, on the side. When you do media, your job tends to be your life. Like, just saying. So it's, I think you have to, if you want to get in media, you have to, you know, have a conscious decision on what you are willing to kind of like give up in your life, which could be time, could be, you know, passions and stuff. If you're willing to do that, are you willing to, you know, do a lot of work for free because that's how you start? And are you, you know, what are you willing to do? What are you prepared to do? How are you going to see your life? Because obviously, you know, if you want a nice house in the suburbs and, you know, a dog and like 3 4 children, maybe media is not necessarily for you. I'm not saying that there aren't people like that in media that do like a media job and then have exactly that. But, you know, it's not exactly as easy to have that if, you know, if you're doing a media job, you know, compared to a classic 9 to 5 job. I don't want to scare anyone off, but, you know, there are things I think you have to take into consideration. No, you know, it's very hard to be, let's say, the Beyonce of the, you know, the situation. There's one in a lot. You know what I mean? It's one in
Yeah.
1,000 or in a million of Beyonces that has like nice houses, this, and that. The industry looks really shiny and glittery and this and that, but people do not see that there's a lot of work and it's a long way up. That's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, as you say, you're completely right. But I think it's nowadays is that people are like very naive. So they will see like, you know, I was speaking to someone the other day about you know, see watching football presenters and you know, like Gary Lineker and stuff like that, and people like, I want to hear it's like 2 million a year or something. They're like, yeah, I want to do that. It's like, yeah, but you're not going to get that quickly though. That's fair enough saying
No,
you want to earn, you know, millions a
absolutely.
year. It's fair enough having like the skies there to like look at and
Yeah.
dream for a reason, but
Yeah.
you need to realize like he was a football player a long time ago. So he started off
Yeah.
that, and he started off when he was a kid, and then it
Yeah.
started off when he was like I can't
Yeah.
remember, it's like 10 or something like that, and then where he is now, it takes a long time to hit. But like,
Yeah.
what a question I always like to ask people, and I always like to ask them like really randomly to catch them off guard, to be quite frankly honest, is it, what would you say is like your biggest flaw?
Oh my God, I'm so messy. I mean, no, okay, no, it's not my biggest flaw. I think one thing that it's definitely my flaw is that I'm a bit too egocentric, and I speak too much. And I think when you, if especially in presenting, if you want to present, you have to learn to listen properly to the people at every single job, but you know, you have to learn to listen to other people and then, you know, kind of like take it in. It's not always about you, and I think there's a big problem is, you know, loads of people have a similar problem when they get into, especially like, you know, being in front of the camera or being in front of the mic, that they think it's all about them. It's not. You know, you have to learn to kind of like be interested, especially if you want to interview people. You have to learn to be interested in what the other person has to say, because you're gonna, you know, miss a lot. And also, you know, when I do production, I have to listen to people that are, very egocentric sometimes. Actually, I haven't had, recent presenters at all that are like that. They're very kind of like, open and interested in what, for example, the guest has to say. But, in previous jobs, especially, I have heard, or like, when I'm just listening to podcasts like randomly and stuff, I have to say, I hear a lot of people that like the sound of their voice more than, what the interviewee has to say. And with that, it really comes out. Like people really perceive that. And you're not going to be a likable character if you do that. So I would say that's my big issue, and I'm working on it. Well, I'm not doing a great job by the sound of what I just said.
No, you are, but I think that's what it comes down to as well. It's like I got asked the other day, like, how do you choose who you interview and how do you choose? I like conversation better, because interview sounds like really they know dirt about you or something like that, and I don't like that word. I like conversation. So having a conversation with people, and it's like I have to genuinely take an interest in the person, So everybody I've spoken to, you have to take a genuine interest, like you will as well if you're interviewing your tattoo artist, because if it was an artist that you didn't necessarily like, you're not really going to pay attention to what they say because you don't like the person. You've no kind of like, not necessarily history, but no like connection is a good word, connection with that person. But again, though, it comes down to like something I'm always interested in, and a lot of people I know will be interested in. What made you want to be on, like, because obviously radio, take away, like, as we had a conversation before, like Zoom and stuff like that, take away that side of it. What made you want to be like kind of vocal rather than being on the telly and on presenting like that side, like like everybody necessarily seeing you versus hearing your voice? What made you want to do that?
You know what? I will always be open to TV. Like, it's not, I think when you work in this industry these days, like, there's not TV and then on the other side radio. It doesn't work like that anymore. As as we're doing right now, we are on Zoom, we are, video and audio at the same time, right? And then, again, as we said, online stuff, video, audio. It kind of like, the industry nowadays, you can't just separate the two. So I wouldn't say, I kind of like, by choosing radio, I've excluded TV. But the difference between the two, for me, is that, radio is more kind of like in the production process of radio shows. Is much more of a cozy environment. It's a cozy medium. Like, you're closer to the guest, even physically, but even mentally, you're closer to the guest. There's not much going on, right? Whereas instead, if you see the production of TV, most of, like, even interview shows, think about some of the best interview shows. I think about Oprah Winfrey show, like, think that there's so much going on there, like so many people, so much going on. It's, you have to have a specific talent also, like, to work in TV, because you have to be, your focus has to be, let's say, if you're interviewing someone, you have to focus on the person, then you have to look at the camera, read, your lines, and then go back to the person, move to that camera, move to the other camera. And I've tried it a couple of times. Trust me, it's very confusing. And I think, I really rate people that are capable to do that, because it's absolutely hard. And even production of TV, there's a lot involved. Not saying that radio there's not a lot involved, but you're focusing more on the audio, and you're focusing on the content a lot, and on the timings. Same thing for TV in terms of timings. But TV has so many elements that you're not even realizing that are there, and everything is like to the millisecond. Same thing as radio, but you have less things to think about. And at the same time, I think the fact that you've got so many different elements to a show in TV makes it a bit over the top in a way, and then it makes it kind of like less I wouldn't say human, because TV is such an amazing medium, but it just makes it colder. Like, things are almost like more professional, even though they're not. But it's two different worlds. I wouldn't say I am against TV. I am absolutely pro TV. I just say, like, the environment of the two medium, it's slightly different. But again, because it's the 21st century, there's not much, people just go back and forth: TV, radio, radio, TV, radio, social media, Twitch, for example, then TV again, stuff like that. So it's very, I don't think people should see it as like a separate thing anymore. It's just one thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's very like saying to somebody, I want to be in the media industry, they're automatically going to be like, oh, you want to be in TV. Because media, everybody associates media with like TV, Netflix, Prime, all these sorts of mediums. But yeah, radio, I think sometimes people do forget that radio is probably arguably the biggest media source out there. 100%, personally would have said.
Well, it's definitely the oldest, if you think about, well, I mean, if you don't take press, because obviously press is the oldest. But it's definitely the oldest, and I think, it has a certain fascinating industry history. Considering that, if you think about it, like, there are so many memories in radio history. Like, radio was in Second World War, the radio was the medium to kind of like listen to, I don't know, the King's speech here, or, big speeches or music. That was the kind of like only thing that would keep you kind of like attached to the rest of the world in a situation that was so, for example, World War II was so tragic and so hard to go through, and that was the entertainment that, let's say, our grandparents had at that time. Radio has had so many important roles in history, in good and bad, you know what I mean? You've got, if you study like what happened in Rwanda, like the genocide in Rwanda, and radio was literally one of the reasons why what happened, because it was the medium that brought this, terrible propaganda around the country and convinced, many people to go and kill other people for absolutely no reason, just based on, propaganda and lies. So, in the good and the bad, like, people sometimes forget how radio is so powerful, because it has the power to low-key get into your house and, like, make you listen to things rather than other things, convince you of certain ideas. When you're watching TV, you're actively watching TV, so you have more awareness of what is happening. Whereas instead, think about how you would listen to radio. Oh, okay, I'll just listen to this show or this other show while I'm washing the dishes, or while I'm hoovering. Well, don't do it while hoovering, you're not going to listen, you're not going to hear too much. But you don't actively go, I'm in front of a screen and I'm receiving information. You're kind of like low-key receiving information, and that's why people forget how powerful psychologically like this is. So I mean, again, I'm a big fan of TV, and I'm a big fan of like shows, productions and stuff, but I've always kind of like had this fascination through radio and audio, and I think that came through music, and then audio engineering, and then eventually radio. I hope I answered the question.
You did, yeah, you did. I think like something as well that everybody that's involved in, radio, necessarily personally would say more in radio, hasn't probably tried everything. That's the thing. Like you
Mm,
kind of have to like work for free type thing. And I was speaking to somebody the other day that works for Bauer Media Group, sorry. So they do obviously a lot of the adverts and stuff like that. And they were
yeah.
saying that, yeah, you have to actually like to work for like a huge company, even a little company, you
Mm,
have to like work for free. But that puts a lot of people off because obviously arguably money is what keeps most
mm,
people going every day. They wake up in the
yeah.
morning and money and stuff like that. But because obviously you said you did work, intern work and helping work out, and it's not necessarily money that, you know, kept you going. So what would you say like one thing is that like keeps you going every day? And takeaway, because obviously it's not money. So what is it that does keep you motivated every day?
The love for my job, just like loving what I do. Like that's the thing when people ask me, it's just like, would you rather have a villa and do something that you hate every day,
Mm,
or living in a studio flat and do something that you love every day?
mm,
Because there's that saying that, if you do what you love for a living, you don't have to work and like for one day in your life, right?
yeah,
There's
yeah.
that saying. And to be fair, I'm quite lazy, so I hate doing stuff that I hate. So I was like, would I rather? And then I was like, no, I'm quite lazy. I would rather do something I love for my whole life and then actually earn money and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think it's everyone has different priorities.
Mhm,
Definitely, like what keeps me going every day
mhm.
is the love for my job.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot like that for most people in the media industry, because otherwise, like, now I've got, now I've got a job, and I'm paid well, and I'm safe and this and that. But obviously for years I say, like, I've done, especially like when after my first degree, I've done work, like sometimes I was paid, a lot of times I wasn't. I had like a low pay
Mhm.
most of times. You have to learn a lot before, you actually get, earn a credibility in the industry for people to then pay you. It's just, you have to be ready to go through all of that,
Mhm.
and then one day you'll get paid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It's not that no one gets paid in the media industry, because otherwise it's a bit, it would be quite problematic.
Yeah.
But and you wouldn't have like people that have families and kids and this and that. Like
Mhm.
it happens
Mhm.
eventually, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you just have to go through the kind of like first few hard years. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about being, again, I put it back to about being like, not being like, really naive and being like, oh,
Mm,
thinking you're going to walk into, X amount of, because I've said, I don't really like talking numbers, but X amount of numbers, a year you're going to earn. And it's like, yeah, okay, let's aim for that one. It's not actually like that. And you said
mm,
about the opportunities you say no to, you said you were going on about that. And I think that's something that everybody I've spoken to has processed. It's like, you could get, one of the guys was saying he got, it was like Percy the cat or something like that. It's something to do with one of the radio stations he was at, their mascot, and it was completely free. And he
mm-hmm.
said, obviously, he was like, yeah, I'll do it. So he did it, and he ended up getting beaten up by kids by swords, and he ended up all this got soaking wet and all this sort of stuff. But then that
Yeah.
led him on to presenting on a show, and then that led him on to. So he was like, if I hadn't taken that job for free, then
Yeah.
this would not have happened. Like it wouldn't have happened as
Yeah.
quick, and it wouldn't have happened. So
Yeah.
it does come down to like it's every little opportunity that comes, even if you really don't want to do it, you have to say yes, because it's
Absolutely.
what happens to like the 10 opportunities that then, arise from that one yes, you know what I mean? But again,
Absolutely. It's a domino. People forget that in the media industry, it's a domino effect.
mm,
So, you're going to get a job because of your previous job. Like it's always like that. Even uni courses, loads of people say that in the industry, uni courses, oh no, don't bother doing uni, don't do this, don't do that. But you know what? My personal experience, it's been great. Like, if I didn't go to, well, I then ended up doing masters in radio, as I said before.
yeah,
I didn't do my master's, I wouldn't have got into this job opportunity. I wouldn't, I've done like an internship for Fubar Radio before getting hired. And they were like, we really like you. We want to hire you. So yeah, like even though I was doing a master's, I was still doing, an internship, and you just have to do these things, and things follow after that. And like obviously, I got the master's because I was doing radio before that. And that's why I said, oh, I've done this and that in radio. Well, can I be part of this course? And they were like, oh, of course, this and that. So it's always like a domino effect. So never be snobbish in this industry, and always actually treat people nicely, because as you said, you're gonna get, you're gonna do a job unpaid, but you're gonna be nice to people and they're gonna like you, and then they're gonna refer you for your next job and stuff like that. So yeah, just think about this your career as a domino effect. It's not like other careers in other industries where you just need like a nice piece of paper on your CV saying I've done this and that, and they're gonna go, oh, interesting, cool, we're gonna pick you. It's much more complicated in this industry. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that's it's probably the same reason as yourself. That's what attracted me even wanting to be in media, because it's different. Like I don't want to be like, oh, what does he do? He works in, obviously nothing against anybody that does that, but he works at this job, it's 9 to 5, 9 to 6. But then you've got someone else, oh, this is what he does, constantly busy, involved in media. Oh, I know who that is, blah, blah, blah. It makes kind of life that little bit more exciting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's cool, let's admit it. Like when you go to the pub and you go, oh, what's your job? I work in radio, I work in media. Everyone goes like, you got a cool job.
Yeah.
But obviously you have to do it for more serious reasons, because you love what you do. Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah. But you
I
have to
would
have like
never go. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, what you were saying, what you were gonna say.
No, I was just saying, like, if you don't passionately love this job, don't do it. Because yeah, but apart from that, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's my bad. That's the thing as well, is you have to, again, it comes back to what you said before. Like, I mean, even like you were like, what keeps you going every day? And you were like, because you love what you do. It wasn't like oh, let me think about that, or even stop. And it was literally, as soon as I said it, the answer came out, because you love what you do. And you have to be like that, because then again, you're literally just wasting time, you know what I mean? Because
absolutely,
you can't take time back again. Like every minute and every second somebody you spend on something, you can't actually get that back, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people are like, wow, that's way out there, but you kind of have to look at it like that. Sometimes you kind of have to take that little bit seriousness sometimes and just look at it like that. But I think a good question I like to ask people as well is, who did you look up to as a kid, like non-celebrity wise and then celebrity wise? Because sometimes it's like a lot of people say it's somebody in media, but then some people say it's nothing even to do with that, it's something like completely different. But what would you say is like a non-celebrity and a celebrity you look up to? Oh, celebrity, quote unquote.
Okay, I've got a few. I know this sounds cliche, but I would say my mum, non-celebrity, no, because she's such a strong woman, and she's kind of like, she obviously on a career level, she's done really well in her career, and she managed to go against all odds. Like she was a single mum of 2 girls, working 12 hours a day and managing to raise 2 daughters and still have like a very successful career. So that definitely that. In terms of the media industry, people that are fairly well known that I look up to, that I know, definitely a couple of like family friends that were doing radio. And I remember actually my dad's best mate, when I was 20, like he's basically the creative director of Virgin Radio Italy.
Wow.
And yeah, he went, okay, so Irene, do you want to work in radio? Okay, cool. Let me invite you in Virgin Radio and like show you how it works from A to B to C to
Mhm.
And I'll, this is how it is. I'm not going to get you a job because you don't deserve it now. You are a nobody at the moment, so no nepotism. But this is, if you want to do this, this is how it works. And I remember I was like 2021, something like that, and I was like, you know what, I actually want to be like you one day. Is in, creative director, and then presenting his own show on Virgin Radio, and then presenting, another show on TV, and then another show on TV, and stuff like that. I was like, you are able to create, but also deliver
Mhm.
on camera or mic or whatever. So definitely him. And by the way, his name is DJ Ringo, but and he's not Ringo Starr. Two different people. And then celebrity, I'm gonna say Oprah. Like, I'm a
Right.
big fan of Oprah. I mean, who's not a fan of Oprah? Like, everyone loves Oprah.
Yeah.
But it's on a female level.
Mhm.
She's been a woman that's been capable to go against all odds in, essentially a country that has race issues.
Mhm.
We can't deny it after, Black Lives Matter, and, the George Floyd case, and also media in the US has some race issues. I'm not saying that, there are people in the industry that actually say it.
Right.
And
Okay.
being a woman, again, we can't deny it after the whole Me Too movement, that the media has some, sexist issues. It's just, it's not a point of view. It's just, a fact.
Mhm.
Not saying that everyone is racist and everyone is sexist,
No, no,
but
of course, no.
there are some issues there, and she's been capable of going against the odds and, have a very successful career. And I think she's like one of the richest women on earth,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
like,
really weird because you
yeah.
work in media, and we just been saying you're not paid that much, and this and that. But then there's Oprah Winfrey, who's like one of the most powerful, richest women on earth,
Mhm.
and she works in media. So,
Yeah.
she smashed it.
Yeah, I think
you
she's
know,
worth like $4 billion or something like that. It's something
yeah,
mental. But
yeah, exactly.
the thing with like media, and something that a lot of people don't actually realize, is that it's
Mm,
not necessarily like you can just turn your phone off type thing and then kind of like disappear from social media
yeah.
type thing. Because if you walk into can imagine if you walk into the office and someone asks you like a random question about something and you have no clue about it, but they're like, how
Mm.
don't you know about that? But something that, you were saying, the social media, which we will get off at you at the end so we can, give it to everybody. But do you ever like, have you ever posted anything you shouldn't have, but do you ever feel like you have to kind of like monitor what you say on social media, or have you just never came across, like, do you just kind of like keep it at a certain level anyway, or do you feel you have to monitor what you say just because of jobs and things like that?
Yeah. Um, it's a very interesting question, actually.
Mhm.
Since I've been working in media, I've been much more careful about what I say and I put out.
Mhm.
um just, yeah, some people say, don't be too political, people are not going to hire you. I'm not sure about that. I've never encountered that. I actually, I work for a company that has quite similar views, similar to mine. So,
Mhm.
I don't, and they never really, said, oh, why, let's say, did you post that picture or that picture? They're quite, your social media is your social media.
Right.
What you are at work, it's a different thing,
Mhm.
two different thing, and you have the right to be whoever you want on social media. Obviously, definitely don't slag off your own company on social media. They're gonna figure it out. Trust
Yeah.
me. So there's not that. But no, I feel I'm quite open, but at the same time, I'm not too political on social media. Happens a couple of times, but not too political. But more so because, like, knowing how social media is,
Mhm.
um, I'd rather, before I say something about a matter or whatever, I'd rather actually research what it is about, what are the sources, because it's really easy to retweet and it's really easy to like press share, but it's not as easy to kind of like do your research and fully understand the matter. And the different sources, what is right and what is wrong, what is true and what is fake. So I'm really, really careful about social media in that sense. I have heard from friends that said, I've been too vocal about this, and that's maybe why they haven't hired me here or there. But again, like there's nothing like, set on paper, like, no one is actually going to email you, well, we're not going to hire you because you tweeted this or that or that. I personally suggest to anyone in any industry, being, working really close in like social media environments and stuff, be careful about what you put out. Like, be really careful. Like, it's, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, it's not your personal notebook. If you want us to have a go at something, write it in a notebook. Don't, especially like, you have loads of cases like of like horrible trolling and stuff like that. And like so many, things that are so horrible. That's why personally I don't even have Twitter, for example, because I don't like it. I think, it's just, nowadays it's just, can I say, verbal diarrhea?
You can say that. You're not the only person to say that, don't worry.
So I just think, it clearly shows and reflects how people do not think before they say something. And again, whatever job you have, and I think, sometimes it's even harder if you have jobs like in banks and stuff like that, because then, if you post a picture of, you out with your mates having drinks and looking absolutely smashed, trust me, they can see it, like, and they're gonna have a look and go, you didn't look really professional. So I don't think, if you work in media, you necessarily, I mean, that's not my my experience. Some people might say otherwise, but as for my experience, I've never been, in a situation where someone said, well, actually, we're not really happy with what you posted, kind of thing, at work or, other, in the industry. Again, I think I've got a political, social point of view that's quite shared in the media industry anyway. So, politically, I think I'm slightly more left than right. So you're gonna, in the creative industry, everyone is slightly more left than right, usually. Not all the time. Then you've got, people we can't mention, but like you got all kind of people. But yeah, I would say just a general suggestion, like, be careful about what you post on social media. Like, it's not your private book, or notebook or whatever. Like, it's something that is public, and even if you delete stuff, it's still gonna be, in a database somewhere. So just be careful with social media. I'm gonna be like the very, old grandma saying social media is bad for you. No, but just be careful.
I think what a lot of people, again, can say this quite, happily, that a lot of people do forget that, like, the company you work for, whether it be in media or whether it be working for, a good one was somebody was working at Asda and they tweeted about how they didn't like 12-hour shifts and they hated their job, and Asda tweeted them back and said that we contacted your manager and you don't have a job. Whether that was real or not, I don't know, but there was that thing. But it does, you have to remember every day that no matter who you work for, you are still representing that, even if you're not being paid on the payroll at that time because you're finished or you're way out or whatever, you still represent somebody. So like, you still, unless you work for yourself, you're representing a company constantly, you know what I mean? And it does get to people sometimes when they're like, oh, I didn't get this job, I wonder if it was because of this, and you're like, nobody can be like definitely was because you're not the employer, but you can maybe
Yeah.
say it was. But I was going to actually ask you about that as well, as how do you deal with, like, because everybody deals with trolls, everybody gets trolls,
Mhm.
everybody has. I've dealt with them, everybody I've spoken to has dealt with them, families dealt with them, everybody has. How do you deal with like negative trolls, we'll call them? How do you deal with that, or do you just completely ignore the comment? Because you said you're only on
Mm.
Instagram, so if
Yeah.
if how do you deal with, like, for example, negative comments under a picture, if you get any, obviously, if you don't, but
No, I think, you know what? Since I'm not I'm not famous or anything like that, um, I've been quite lucky so far, especially like, in my adulthood. I never really experienced that much trolling at all.
mm,
So I'm quite lucky. I think I had it more when I was like a teenager, especially. I don't know about you, but like there was this thing in Italy that everyone had. It's called Ask FM.
uh,
So
I mean,
basically, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I've gonna say I've heard of that through like horror stories from people. When I ask them about social media, they tell me about that, and I mind
Yeah.
saying to somebody else like, "Oh, what is?" I genuinely thought that was like another form of like Facebook or something. They're like, "No, no, 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 this
No.
is like years ago." But then they tell me horror stories, and I'm like, "Damn, Christ."
Yeah. Yeah. When I was a teenager, I had Ask FM because obviously everyone had it, blah 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 blah. And obviously, it's even worse than Twitter sometimes, because obviously you don't, the person that, writes the comment or the message is completely like anonymous, so you have no
Right.
idea of who he might or she might be.
Mm,
So I think I had a couple of like very hard, especially for a teenager,
mm,
very very hard comments on, my body, or my behavior, or my personality. I would say though, and I'm not saying, oh yeah, I'm cool, I ignore all these people, you should do the same, because everyone is different. There are people that are more sensitive about things, the people
mm,
that are less sensitive about things, and it's totally fine, no matter who you are and how you are. Like, everyone is different, and it's, the world is beautiful because everyone is different.
I couldn't agree more.
I
Yeah.
I am not really a sensitive person.
Mm,
So I've always been like, okay, you are saying this, you are saying this to me, but you're actually spending your time to write something like that to me. So if I'm worthless, what are you?
mm,
Kind of thing. I've
yeah.
always been like, if you spent this amount of time to write all of that, like, and you're basically insulting me, then you really must, you must hate me, but you must consider me like, quite important for you to
Mm,
literally waste your time to insult me. So I've always kind of like dismissed it, but that's just me. And
mm,
that's just how I react and how I reacted. I don't know how I'm going to react maybe in the future, if I'm going to be trolled again or
mm,
not. But I've heard of people that get trolled every single day, like with horrific things, like,
mm,
there are people that get death sentences and stuff like that through Twitter, and I think that doesn't make it any less dangerous, that if it's through Twitter,
mm,
is absolutely something illegal, and people have to be prosecuted
mm.
anyway. It's a crime, it's a
Yeah.
crime. So you know and I think there has to be some sort of work on regulations on social media, and things are getting better right now,
Mm,
but we have to be careful. And also, like, even like stupid comments, you never know how it feels when you receive it,
mm,
and just think. I would say to everyone, think before you just post stuff.
mm,
And I think loads of people, like in terms of trolls, I think loads of people, they just express their frustration on social media, when like they're actually sad about their life and about how things are going for them, and they just
mm,
you know pushing all that anger and all that frustration onto another person. And that's why, like, I personally try to not, see it in, trying to not be affected by it. I mean, not that I'm having it right now, but back in the day, because it's almost like this person has clearly an issue with themselves and their own life. They don't have a problem with, they don't even know me, like they don't, but they clearly have a problem, I don't. And I think is that psychological mentality of like drawing a line on, and it's not really easy, like it's not easy at all. So I totally sympathize with people that feel they are attacked by trolls and stuff. And I'm not saying I'm doing it, I'm doing better than you, absolutely not, like full respect. But it is just like, drawing a line and say, listen, you clearly got issues, I don't. It's really hard to do it these days, like, you can, it's the same thing as like, being in problematic relationships. You have loads of like partners that put their frustration onto you, and you just have to draw a line and go like, whoa, you are like this, I'm not, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really hard. It's all psychological, I think. And I think, again, as we said, it like, think before you post, and think before to do anything on social media. But also kind of like, if you have an issue with yourself and with your life, don't take it on other people. Giving like a psychology lesson, or I'm not a psychologist, sorry.
Yeah, it's turned into like how to help you on social media 101.
Yeah, exactly.
But
sorry, my bad.
No, it's all good. It's interesting. I'm sure everyone will find it interesting. But you did make a good point about, it's like when people say don't judge a book by its cover, it's like, because that person might be biting back at you. They might say something to you, but then the next time they turn into like the nicest person you could ever meet. And then you realize, like, I just use the analogy that, that guy or girl would have been in a relationship and it could have broken down, or their animal could have passed away, or like anything really, like they wanted to go away and they can't get it. So you never really know why someone is the way they are. But then you do get other people that do like, or like, that doesn't matter to me, I'm going to push it towards other people, and all the negativity and all the anger and frustration and that obviously, like, that does damage people. But I think that having being in the media industry, you kind of have to get used to like people maybe saying stuff, because people do comment on what media people do. Like, you see it constant. I don't want to bring up any particular issues, but you do see it all the time, that people do comment on anything anybody in media does, anything. But then again, it comes back down to like, you represent this company, so you kind of have to keep yourself to a standard. But there is like and I wonder if you ever you don't have to name any names, obviously, but like, I wonder if you've ever came across it, because like how you see people are on social media, like the happiest they could be and motivating and like strong and everything, but then in real life they're a completely different person. Have you ever came across anything from people in media? Have you ever came across anything where people are just like this way on social media and this way?
A million times. Yeah, I mean, I think, not naming names, obviously, but like, even before working in media, because I was growing up in a very small, well, fairly small city, but quite international, I've always been used to, knowing people that might be, in the spotlight or stuff like that. So, like, to me, I've never been like starstruck. I'm not that kind of person. Obviously, well, when you work in media, if we're talking about, famous people, it happens. You do meet them. Sometimes, you become friends. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes, most of the times, it's just work, relationship, whatever. Obviously, I think anyone on social media shows the best of themselves, don't they? And obviously, you also have to think about this, like, nowadays, people that are in the spotlight, really and truly, Instagram is their business. Like, even though they might not, okay, usually actors don't do that, because obviously it's different kind of thing. But if you are on TV, a lot of the times, Instagram might be one of your, sources of revenue. That's how it works these days, because obviously, brands want to, sponsor you on social media. And sometimes some people might actually get more money from Instagram than from their job, on TV. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it happens. It's just how it is these days. And so you have to take that into account. I think there's a kind of like consciousness arising these days, so which is making things better in general. But you just have to take that into account. And obviously, if you are in the spotlight, you do get a lot of trolling. And I think, because personally I grew up in a different way, so I've always been kind of used to people in media, in the spotlight, as I said before. Like, my dad's best friend, like I was like, I want to be like Hugh, this and that. And when you work with these people, you do realize that they are not that. They're not that character. They're not that, when you are a, person working on TV or radio, as much as you are true to yourself, you're always, as we said on social media, you're always that best side of yourself. You're always like showing one side to yourself. Sorry. So you have to take that into account. Those people are not like that in real life most of the times. So yeah, I think a big problem with people that are fans and stuff like that, or people that like certain characters or certain people, and then they see them on social media. Now, social media is making everyone accessible. That one guy that in the 70s that you like, the one rock star that your dad liked, like, he couldn't go and message him on Instagram. He could just watch him on TV or have a poster in their room. Now, like, whoever you like, you can just take your phone, send them a DM. And that, I think, makes famous people more human-like, because people don't have as much distant, like, no, they're not so distant, they're approachable. But at the same time, I think that raises another issue, the fact that so many people think that they kind of own these famous people, kind of thing. They kind of own them. They kind of think they know who they are. Whereas instead they just know a character. You know how many times they're like, I met this person like through work or here and there, and then people go, oh, did you meet them? Oh my god, I hate this guy, or I love this girl because it's like this and that. And you're like, you know what, I don't know them that well, but I spend like 10, 30, 1 hour, 30 minutes, 1 hour with them, and I definitely didn't have that impression of them. You haven't met them in your whole life, but you still think you know them, kind of thing. It's a really problematic mentality when you detach the human aspect from these people and make them into merchandise, into your object that you can approach whenever you want, that you can insult at whatever time. That becomes the big problem, I think, with famous people and trolling. And the truth is, they are like everyone else. Like, they poo, they pee, they're exactly like, they're happy, they're sad, they walk the dog if they have one, it's just like they're human beings like everyone else. How would you feel if one day, instead of getting one troll, you get 30,000? It's just like, the hell, these people have feelings too. They're exactly like me and you. So yeah, in terms of trolling for famous people, I've seen it, and it's absolutely hideous. And I just think, again, it also comes back to the fact that people think they own these people, but also people project their frustration because someone is making it. They see someone being successful, regardless of what that is happening in like their private life or whatever, but they're seeing someone that, you know, is glowing and shining all over social media, TV, radio, this and that, and they feel entitled to project their frustration onto those people. And I think it's really sad, and I think it's really problematic on a psychological level. And I always advise to everyone, if you don't like a person, just don't waste your time with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether if they're famous or not, just don't waste your time insulting them. Just move on. Yeah.
I think it's because like a lot of people don't realize, like one of my favorite people out there is Will Ferrell, and a lot of people don't realize that just because you, for example, you don't like him from Get Hard or you don't like him from Anchorman or something like that, they're characters. Like that's not Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
He's an
Oh my
actual.
God,
They're playing a character.
Yeah. Oh my God, there was one thing that I was mystified. So I don't know if you know, there was a Sky series that was called Gomorrah. It's really famous internationally. And I remember there was a scene, spoiler alert, where one character kills like a 7-year-old child, okay?
Chris, yeah.
And people, when they watched it, they went on Twitter, or like on this actor's Twitter, going like, oh my God, you're such an awful person, this and that, you're F this, da, da, da. How can you even do something like that? It was so mental that rappers in France were making songs against these guys just because they acted in a scene. And it's just like, sorry, wait a minute. The show is about mafia, by the way, and gangsters and stuff. And it's like, it's actually, you know, based in real life. So you could just go like, sorry, wait a minute. You're having a go at the actor that made a scene, like he was acting in a scene. We're not having a go at the real guys that are really doing these things on the street. Like, how did you understand this guy is playing a character and he hasn't not really killed someone in real life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bit like, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I think you made up a good point there, in that they literally are characters. But something interesting you were saying about, as well as about celebrities and Instagram, do you think it's necessarily a good thing that these celebrities can maybe see all the negativity that's happening? Because before, obviously, they got letters, but the letters didn't go to them. They went to, like, you know, their assistants or their PA, you know, proper personal assistants. Do you think it's better that, you know, celebrities are necessarily more accessible now? Or because my just to say my opinion, to be honest, is that it is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because if these actors read a certain thing, they might turn down roles, and that could then ruin, you know, that person's life, their livelihood. Because even if you've got hundreds of millions of pounds, that can still disappear. So like it sometimes I think like it is good that we can access celebrities and get to like connect to these people one to one, but it does have a bad side to it all the time because of negativity and because of evil people that just want to put these guys down for no apparent reason.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a double-edged sword. I think it makes you understand that these people are more human, especially like, you know, with the new movements of like, you know, especially with women as well, saying, listen, I'm a star, I'm a celebrity, this and that, but I'm not perfect. You know, I've got like issues, I've got stretch marks, I've got cellulite, I've got this, I've got that. There's loads of women that are doing, they're, you know, celebrities, and they're doing it on social media. And I think it is helpful for young women that look up to these girls and go like, oh my God, like I can't have cellulite because this girl doesn't have cellulite. I can't have stretch marks. Not that, you know, that is the only issue that women go through. But, you know, if you are a girl, and I think, as you know, guys as well, like I have to have a six pack, I have to have this, I have to have that because this guy has it, because that, you know, and girls like, oh, I have to have that, you know, that bottom because, you know, this girl has it, you know what I mean, stuff like that. And I think it's really good that there are loads of people that are being proactive and saying like, listen, this is what the media shows you, but I am not like that. I am a human being as much as you are. But as we said before, that then, you know, the accessibility that social media gives to fans, that could be quite problematic, because then, you know, it just, in your psychology, like people just, I think people really struggle to just see, as we said, celebrities as human beings. They either see them as idols that are unreachable, that, are kind of like aliens, or they see it as their object, or the person that they know, and they can, they are entitled to tell them like any sort of thing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, as everything, there's always like, a good side and a bad side. I think, definitely in general, and this is to everybody, I think social media has to go through certain regulations. And I think we are going towards, a world that, an internet world that will have more regulation gradually, which is totally fair enough, because like, if I walk down the street and I punch you in the face, that's illegal. Like, I can't do that. If I go down the street and I insult you, that's verbal harassment. You know what I mean? Why, from verbal harassment, we put it on social media and is right of free speech or free thought. There's a difference between free speech and free thought, and and just having a go at someone and threatening someone and stuff like that. If I go down the street and I see you face to face and I tell you like, I'm gonna kill you, that's a threat. Like, if I post it on social media, it's slightly like suddenly freedom of speech. It's not. It's still a threat. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? So, and I've seen loads of people that literally have received things that are awful, like awful. I've seen celebrities like, being photoshopped on like, ISIS pictures and like being beheaded. Like, that's how awful the trolls went for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, again, being a human being, I've never gone through that. So I can't judge them if they literally felt awful about it. Who wouldn't? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've heard of people, whose trolls have threatened their mothers or their family, or so these things really can go really far for like a person that is in the spotlight. And is it fair? I don't think so, because it's like, if we are all human beings and all equal, then you have to take this into account. Like, if it's happening to you, you would go to the police and go, oh my god, like, this person is seriously threatening me. But suddenly, because they are celebrities, they can't do it. Of course they can do it. You know what I mean? Like, they have to be entitled to do it, and not be criticized for it, because it's a really, it's a really psychologically tough life. I know it sounds a bit like, oh, boo-hoo, you're in the spotlight, but still,
At the end of the day, it's how they earn a living though. So like, these guys have to, like, they necessarily have to do, take things and do roles and stuff like that. And I mean, they're not the ones writing the script. They're the actors. So it's like,
especially with actors. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And even necessarily, obviously, a lot of people in radio and that do their own kind of thing. But say you didn't do that and you say something, it's not you that you should be going mad at. It's the people behind you that you should be speaking to and having conversations with, that it's them. But just as much as I love that conversation there, just to get back to yourself a little bit, where would you say like, say 5 to 10 years down the line, where would you say is maybe like, because obviously nobody can be like, I want to be that one thing, because nobody knows what could happen in 10 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, realistically, where would you say you want to be in like 5 to 10 years, like that kind of time frame?
Wow. That's such a hard question. Everyone asks me that, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm all over the place right now. I don't know what to say. I definitely want to progress in production.
Yeah.
Because like, it just makes me feel good to think about something, create something, and then see it happening, kind of thing. I would always love to keep my presenting on the side. I would not want to kind of like quit presenting, because I absolutely love it. But yeah, I would say definitely I would love to progress in production and, you know, eventually again, keep on having my own shows, possibly about tattoos, because, you know, I'm a man passionate about tattoos. But yeah, so that's what I would love to see myself.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
usually people say like, oh, they are like, oh, I want to be with a family and stuff like that. But like that's
Oh
obviously
no.
like, yeah, it's a kind of like cliche type thing. You want to like aspire to be like people, obviously like yourself, that want to be like want to
Yeah.
rather like progress further in a career and do this sort of thing. And not just like I want to have a family and kids, because that's not really like, it's not really that motivating to hear like
Yeah,
obviously yourself, you want to literally progress within, what you're doing, and that it obviously is really motivating.
absolutely.
But yeah, I want to say
Yeah.
thank you for your time and that. It means a lot.
Oh, honestly, it's been a pleasure. Honestly, it's been absolutely lovely to chat to you.
I appreciate it. I always love speaking to like, different types of people and people from all different
Thank
industries and
you.
everything like that. So it's always interesting, but I'm sure our listeners will definitely find you like motivating and interesting. And I think like
Thank you.
it's all good. I think like one thing they want to know is where can they, because you said you only use Instagram. So do you want to plug
Yeah.
your Instagram?
So my Instagram is at Ida, IDA,
Mhm.
and then Kaya, Kaya. Basically that's my presenting name. So then,
Okay.
you can figure out, all my show and like all the episode of the show, like it's Ink at Islington Radio. And yeah, like then, listen to Fubar Radio, guys, if you want to hear like amazing shows.
Mhm.
I'm not going to present them. I'm not presenting them. But you've got massive names like, Nick Helm, Bobby Norris from Towie,
Mhm.
Pete Wicks from Towie as well,
Mhm. Mhm.
CC Coleman. They're all absolutely amazing and you're going to love those shows. So if you want to, check Fubar Radio out, is at Fubar Radio. If you want to go on Fubar Radio's website is fubarradio.com.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
And
That's
don't
just it.
worry, guys. I'll get our Instagram and everything for you, so we can put it in the title and put it in the description and everything like that. But
Yeah.
have you got anything you would like to say to anybody just now before we leave?
I would say again, I've been quite harsh during the interview about, careers in media, but if you love it, it's always worth to get in media,
Mhm.
but you have to love it
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah, it's
But
harsh
yeah,
but true
don't
though.
put
It's like
yourself.
you're not
Yeah.
you're not naive, so you know exactly how it is. So like
Yeah.
that's what people don't need like a naive. Oh, it's
Yeah.
going to be like fairies and rainbows. It's like no, that's not
Yeah.
the way the world is. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
No,
thank you for your
honestly,
time.
guys, keep going like for media.
There we go. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and the
Thank you.
usual. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you. See you later.